arrest you. She don't even take L's, we in alphabet soup. Mayday, mayhem, 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 mayday, mayhem. She a cool black nerd, always been smart.
And hello, welcome to another Mayday Mayhem stream. Excuse me. And today we are talking about Samaj Crosby. Now, excuse me, I have a drink of my little Pepsi. Now, Samaj Crosby, if you don't remember, was a beautiful baby whose life was taken heinously, and there's still unanswered questions on what happened. Now, if you look at your screen, you'll see a picture of Samaj. Now, her death was very circumstantial. There's a lot of circumstances surrounding her death regarding the reason why, because she was under DCFS watch. Okay, I ain't trying to talk about good workers out there, but bad workers. So she was under DCFS watch. She was allegedly supposed to be seen, but they later found her body inside of the couch because she had allegedly went missing and wasn't seen. They found her body inside of the couch that was inside of what they would call a dilapidated home where no one should have been staying. There was pretty much inhabitable. I did a story on this. If you go back on my channel, on this YouTube channel, you can see I did do a story on Samaj Crosby. And when they found her body inside the couch, of course, they took her and the couch, of course, as evidence. But soon after that, the house caught on fire. Someone came and set the house on fire. So any of the evidence inside of that house is gone. It's been long gone. So there still has not been anyone charged with the murder of Samaj Crosby. But allegedly there has been a settlement for the death of Samaj Crosby. And what DCFS could have probably done to maybe prevent this from happening. So let me play the let me go ahead and play the clip that came out courtesy of the news. I will link the video below, of course. But just take a listen to the news story and we'll get into a little bit more and like what happened.
New tonight, a settlement in the lawsuit stemming from the 2017 death of a toddler in Joliet Township. Samaj Crosby's body was found stuffed in the family's couch.
Now, as WGN Shannon Halligan tells you, the organization in charge of protecting the little girl is being held at least partially responsible. Shannon?
Yeah, well, next week marks the 5-year anniversary of the death of 17-month-old Samaj Crosby. No one has been criminally charged in the little girl's death, but the attorney representing the girl's estate said the settlement hopefully sends a message and prevents this from happening to any other child. On April 24th, 2017, a caseworker from Children's Home and Aid visited Samaj Crosby's home. CHA was contracted by the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services to ensure the safety and well-being of children. 41st time since the previous September that a caseworker went to the Joliet Township home. The next day, the 17-month-old was reported missing. After an extensive search, Samaj's body was found stuffed beneath the family's couch in the cramped, filthy home. Chicago attorney J. Paul D'Aretani filed a lawsuit for Samaj's estate. In an earlier interview, D'Aretani said more should have been done to remove Samaja from the home before she died.
There were so many warnings to Children's Home and Aid and to DCFS, frankly, that this child was in danger. The floor was disgusting. There were roaches on the wall. The place was condemnable, and they knew it and should have known it.
Now, 5 years since Samaj's death, the civil case has been settled for almost $6.5 million. In a statement, D'Aretani said, in part, no amount of money can possibly bring Samaj Crosby back, but we hope that organizations such as Children's Home and Aid, as well as other contractors with the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, will abide by their contractual obligations to provide the best possible care for children. There was no reason Samaja had to die, and the money that will go to her brothers and sisters will never ease the pain. No one has been criminally charged in Samaja's death, but D'Aretani hopes CHA at least learns from their mistakes. As one of the supervisors admitted, they took on too many cases and were overworked, and that is a problem. DCFS should monitor the amount of cases they give to a private organization, and the private organization should not accept cases unless they can provide all services and comply with all DCFS regulations. We can only hope that more cases like Samaj Crosby's do not occur in the future.
D'Aretani also said that DCFS should have had greater control of their contractors, that they are continuing to pursue a case in the Court of Claims against DCFS. Live in the newsroom, Shannon Halligan, WGN News.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Shannon.
Now, with the few distractions, there is a minor storm going on here in Chicago. It's not too bad, but there is a minor storm going on here this Friday in Chicago. So, yes, as you just heard the news story now. $6.5 million was granted to her estate, which she has no children because she was a child herself. So her estate would be her siblings. Now, the problem I have with this is not the money for the siblings. Of course, yes. No amount of money will bring back Samaj. No amount of money. However, this $6.5 million, who's going to be fighting over these children, or who has these children? Because I'm not sure who has the children. I'm not sure where the children are. Are they in another custody of DCFS, or were they granted custody? DCFS granted custody to someone else outside the family? Because let's not forget, this all happened with the mother, the grandmother. It's a lot of stuff surrounding Samaj's death, and no one was ever charged for it. But DCFS was charged with the neglect of not taking Samaj out of the home sooner. Now, you guys saw the photos that was on the news clip. Of course, again, I'm going to put the news clip below. But, excuse me, you saw the photo. She should have been, and at that time, there were multiple people staying inside of that home. There were multiple. They said it's supposed to have been like 15 or so people coming in and out of that place. Like, you have multiple people coming in and out of here, and still nothing. You don't know what happened to the child. All you know is that she went missing the day later after allegedly DCFS, had been there. Now, the very next day, the 17-month-old goes missing. If I'm not mistaken, it all started as, she went in the house, changed her pamper, and the mother came out and said, excuse me, excuse me, y'all. The mother came out and said, "Has anyone seen my baby?" And it was so much confusion going on, and no one could ever get their stories together. But the kicker was, everyone was together. You see what I'm saying? If you go back and look at my last video in regard to Samaj Crosby, it was so many different holes in that story, to where the mother is telling one story, the grandmama is telling one story, the auntie is telling one story, the friend is telling another story, because they all had all these the news, they had little exploitations of it. You know, they were going on like little news channels, you know, traveling from news station to news station. And they had one where the auntie wouldn't even show up. The grandmother and the friend came. And even in that discrepancy, the grandmother and the friend were like, "No, I didn't do this, and no, I didn't do that." Well, I just pulled in because it was allegedly something going on with the car. And again, she was alleging that it was like over 5 or 6 more children out there. So they don't know what happened to her. And it's so many holes in this story. And again, it was so much finger pointing for everyone to be in the same vicinity and in the same house in the same area, and no one knows anything, and no one can pinpoint anything, because guess what? Now all the evidence is gone. All they had was the couch that Samaj was in and her poor little body. That's all they had. Everything else, all the other evidence was burned. Like it was a fire. Like, you know, when you have investigations, especially of deaths inside of homes, they usually do you know, go through everything in the home. Just like the next case I'm going to talk about coming up after this one will be the Lyons brothers case that happened not too far over here in Lyons, Illinois, where these men, they actually buried their mother and their sister in the backyard and had been buried back there for years, and no one knew. You see what I'm saying? They had to literally dig out everything in the backyard and dig out everything, take everything out of the house. Now, they allegedly had excuse me, collectibles of things, of like vintage toys or something like that. We'll get more into it with that case. But it was very strange. But the thing about it was, they literally cleaned that house out. They had to get as much evidence as they could get. They had to get as much anything. They had to get anything they could out of that house to go along or coincide with the stories that the brothers were telling. That would have been the same thing with Samaj's case. If that house had not burned down, we may have found a killer. We may have found who is responsible for Samaj's death if that house had not burned down, because all they found was her inside the couch. That's all they found. That was it. That was it. Now, you find just her in the couch. All these other adults are around her. Because again, the story is so convoluted and there was so many holes in the story. Oh, we gave all the babies popsicles and this, and third. And then she went in the house and she never came out. And then she came out, where's my baby? And it was just so insane. Like, I have never seen a child go missing or anything like that, and a relative that was connected with this child doesn't show up, says, oh, I had to go to work. So a child's death is not more important than you missing your work to try to figure out what's going on with this child. It's just astounding to me. So it was so many holes in the story. But what they could do was place some of the blame, a majority of the blame, on DCFS, because she should have been taken out of that house immediately. They had said 40-something visits to the house, and you didn't take her out because, again, they were overworked, too many caseloads. Again, we hear this over and over again. Look at poor little AJ. His parents killed him, and his father buried him some miles away later. And he was literally beaten and starved to death. And the kicker was, he had been placed with a family that loved and took care of him. And they took him out of that home and put him back into the home of the abusers. So you hear this time and time again, and then it's also the same, what you say, song and dance. Oh, we were overworked. Oh, we were overworked. Well, you honestly should have left AJ where he was. Excuse me. And you saw how the applicable Shamanje's cases is, and you left her there. But then I can't also fault them, because you have a lot of these foster parents that are only taking foster children just for money. Again, look at the case of the missing West boys. They're still missing. Their little bodies have not been recovered yet, but they are still missing. And who were they with? They were with Trezell and what's her name? Trezell and Jasmine West. Yeah. And they were the adoptive foster parents. But if you would have left them with their biological parents and probably sought treatment and anything like that, these children will still be alive. And it's even alleged that Trezell West and Jasmine West had someone else's child allegedly, and they haven't seen this child in years. That's allegedly. Allegedly. So you hear these cases where DCFS do take children and they put them in homes that are way, way, way worse than the homes that they've taken them out of. But then you see cases like these to where the children should have been taken out of the home, but then it's not to say whom she would have been put with that would have taken care of her and loved her unconditionally to not hurt her. You see, that's the issue. So again, I can't fault all of it on DCFS, but as y'all saw in the news photos and in the other photos in my other video, there's no way Shamanje should have been there. And then with DCFS coming in there over 40 times, DCFS, you came and visited there over 40 times and you saw nothing had changed. And yet you let a 17-month-old child stay there with so many inclinations of people running in and out, multiple adults running. We'll never find out who did anything to Shamanje. We'll never find out who did it. Again, all the evidence that they could have cleaned out of that house and corroborated with whatever everybody was saying, burnt up before they can go in there and collect the evidence. So again, what are we going to do? Like, who's going to be held really responsible for her murder? Yes, DCFS is being held financially responsible. But who is going to be held for her actual murder? You know, they're just being held for neglect, for not taking her out of a neglectful situation sooner. Yes, absolutely. But who's going to actually pay and, like, for real, do time for the death of Shimanje? Who's going to do actual time for her? And be prosecuted for her murder, because we all know it was a murder. A baby doesn't go inside, a 17-month-old doesn't go inside of a couch and just lay there and suffocate, and no one knows what happens. No one knows. She would have been going on 7. No, not 7. Yeah, 7. Because this happened in 2017 and she was 17 months old. She would have been almost 7 years old, if my calculations is right. But no, where was the saving of her? And again, no one knows what happens. No one knows who is responsible. Again, it's so much finger pointing, and now all the evidence is gone. So there's a murderer out there, or a set of murderers, or a group of murderers that know what happened to Shimanje, and we'll never find out. So it's really, really sad. So my heart goes out to her siblings that will never get to know her, and I hope that they are they're in good hands, and they are being well taken care of before this settlement even came through, and that whomever they're living with is, like, for real taking care of them and not just doing it for a check, or, you know what I'm saying? Because again, I don't know where her siblings are, who her siblings are, but I'm just praying to God that they're being taken care of the correct way, because we've seen it go both ways. We've seen it go where they put kids in situations where they would have been better off left with their parents, and we've seen situations where kids have been left with the parents and they would have been better off without being with them. So it's a double-edged sword, and we have to look at each case differently. So I was just astonished that $6.5 million would be split amongst her brothers and sisters, her siblings. I'm just wondering, does the mother or father have custody of her other siblings? Like, I'm just wondering who has custody. So, because there was so many unanswered questions in Shimanje's death. But maybe this estate will go to her siblings when they get a certain age. You know, when they get of age, you know, where they can handle their own finances or anything like that. So it'll be set up maybe possibly that way. But yeah, it's still sad, because we'll never know what really happened to her. We'll never know who is responsible for committing the crime of taking Shimanje's life. So it's sad. It really is. But we're going to end this episode for today, and we'll be back next time, and we will, again, like I said, talk about the Lyons brothers. Yes, I'm calling them the Lyons brothers because of the crime they committed in Lyons, Illinois. So we'll be back tomorrow to speak about the Lyons brothers. So thank you for tuning in to another Mayday Mayhem mystery. I am your girl, Mayday Mayhem. Please like and subscribe. And again, if no one told you they love you, I do. I truly, truly do. Make sure you do better today than you did yesterday, and strive for a better tomorrow today. I will link in those videos below in regards to Samaj Crosby's them interviews, and y'all tell me what y'all think about it. Okay, so I'm going to see y'all next time for another Mayday Mayhem mystery. Please don't forget to check out my podcast, Mayday Mayhem Podcast, which streams across any and all streaming platforms. I had to take a 2-week hiatus. We'll talk about that on the podcast. So I'll catch y'all over there. Until next time, everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and be good. And I'll see you next time.
She a winner, that's true. She don't even take L's, eating alphabet soup. Mayday, mayhem, 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 mayday, mayhem. She a cool black nerd, always been smart.